never hear anybody telling the Jews, stop talking about the Passover. You never hear anybody telling the Jews, stop talking about the Holocaust. There are Holocaust museums all over the world. And you know why? Because the Jews made up in their minds that they will never forget the evil that happened to them. Because if they forget what happened to them, they'll let it happen again. And because God spared them and allowed them, in spite of the atrocities, to go on, they're never going to forget what God has done for them. And so on Juneteenth, you ought to be celebrating what God has done if you're a black person for your people. That your people were in slavery and they were free and didn't even know it until somebody got word to Galveston, Texas, to let them know that the Emancipation Proclamation had already been signed, and it wasn't just because Lincoln had a conscience, but it was because God heard their cries and heard their prayers. You ought not stop talking about Jim Crow, and ought not stop talking about abolition period, and you ought not stop talking about slavery in America. Because when you stop talking about slavery and how God delivered us, then you'll end up and you will not be able to give God praise and celebrate a God of liberation that your children can believe in, no matter what happens. I know some of y'all think that's racial talk, but let me see if I can help some of you that it's not just racial talk, and it's not just historical talk, but it's also personal talk, because every single one of us has something in our past that God has delivered us from.